Just going to call us to order here so we can get started with the webinar at the top of the hour. My name is John Colborn. I'm Executive Director of Apprenticeships for America, and very happy to have you with us on this exploration of apprenticeships and AI, and some very generous sharing from Reach University on some of the work that they've been doing, and an invitation to participate in some of that work. So just thank you to Reach and our partners there for helping produce this webinar. Usual webinar rules stand here. Keep yourself on mute unless you've got something to say. Use the chat, and in fact, take a moment right now, if you can, to put your name and organization in the chat by way of introduction. We expect we'll have about 100 people on the webinar, so appreciate folks keeping yourself on mute when you're not speaking. We'll be presenting for a bit, and then we'll have some time for some Q&A. And as is often the case with AFA webinars, feel free to stick around a little bit after the webinar for an after party to be able to ask questions directly of panelists or bring up issues that we weren't able to get to. But of course, that's completely optional. And so I think with that bit of introduction, I'm going to invite Harry to put up some slides here. And Holly Smith, one of my co-presenters from Reach University, is going to get us started. Holly?
Thank you, John, Harry, and the AFA team for helping us bring today's webinar to life. For those of you that I have not met yet, I'm Holly Smith. I'm the new Executive Director of Reach University's National Center for the Apprenticeship Degree, otherwise known as NCAD. So for any of you who missed last week's AFA webinar on the landscape of the U.S. apprenticeship degree with John and Reach's President, Dr. Joe Ross, I highly encourage you to watch the recording of that discussion. I want to provide today just a brief overview of who we are and what we do without duplicating too much of what President Joe shared with us last week. At Reach, our goal is to transform jobs into degrees. We're the nation's first and only nonprofit university fully dedicated to on-the-job degrees and credentials, and we call those apprenticeship degrees. We often refer to them as ADs. So today, Reach is serving as our nation's proof point. We serve over 3,300 learners across 8 states, and we partner with more than 570 employers. And our goal is not just to help students earn a degree, it's to really transform those workforce systems and pipelines so that jobs themselves become a pipeline to degree and in turn to economic mobility. So understanding that lasting higher ed innovation cannot happen in a silo, in 2024, we launched the National Center for the Apprenticeship Degree, otherwise known as NCAD. And NCAD exists as one of the 3 faculties at Reach, alongside our teaching faculty and the Apprenticeship College of Health. So for those of you that work with us, you know that our role is to serve as a national accelerator for the apprenticeship degree. Our goal is to walk arm in arm with you, helping colleges, universities, states, employers design, launch, and scale this model in your way that fits your state and your employer need. What makes us unique at NCAD is that we don't just operate Reach's own programs. We support the entire ecosystem of institutions that are working in this workspace to embed on-job degrees into higher education. And we do this through 4 different ways. We really work through partnerships first to co-design and ensure that we're working in a local ecosystem. Capacity building through the technical assistance that we provide. Membership, building that community through what we call our Apprenticeship Degree Network, or ADNet, who, by the way, I'll put a punch out, just launched the 3rd cohort today, just before this webinar. And through our knowledge sharing, which is our public publications, white papers, anything that we are sharing with you by way of toolkits and playbooks. And you'll get a feel for our approach to collective impact and knowledge sharing today through this webinar. We're going to invite everyone here to learn a little bit more about NCAD and join us at ncad.org. So what is an apprenticeship degree? You're going to hear a lot about apprenticeship degrees today as part of our AI workforce strategy. So I want to share a little bit about them to ensure that we are level setting on our understanding here. An apprenticeship degree is fully embedded in the workplace. So a working adult does not have to choose between a job or a degree. With an AD, they're getting both. You're going to see the core tenets of an apprenticeship degree here. And anyone who knows President Joe knows how he really loves making these details so easy to remember through the ABCs of apprenticeship degree. So I encourage each of you again to go back to last week's webinar with AFA to really dive into these tenets and get the details. But the biggest takeaways for you today are that whether it's registered or standalone, the apprenticeship degree is fully job embedded and it incorporates those key components of an apprenticeship. Those components go back centuries. And here at Reach, we couple on-the-job practice with a rigorous liberal studies degree so that a learner can really navigate the demands of the job today as well as tomorrow. As part of that readiness, every learner at Reach takes immersive single subject semesters of math, computational thinking, computer science, and AI literacy and part of their degree experience. That positions our learners perfectly to apply those key skills on the job the very next day while they're moving through their Reach experience. So employers can expand CS and AI competence and skills across their full workforce. Now, as far as we know, we are one of the first, if not the very first, to require CS and AI literacy, skills for every undergraduate, regardless of their major. So today you're going to get to see up close how we train our faculty and undergraduates in AI literacy with Dr. Emily Tomford. She is Reach's Chair of Computer Sciences. And remember, anyone here is going to be able to take Dr. M's graduate level CS and AI literacy course this fall for free. We can offer the same exact experience to your learners, your employers, and your apprentices at no cost. So together, we really want to share these learnings and best practices with you, and we'll share more details on how you can do this at the end of the discussion. All right, back to you, John.
Great. Thank you so much. Appreciate that invitation and stick around because you're going to see some really amazing stuff from our friends at Reach. I am going to just take a quick moment to provide a little bit of context around this conversation, and particularly talking about AI and apprenticeship. Up until really the last couple of months, the conversation we've been having about AI and labor markets in general has been a remarkably fact-free conversation. We just haven't had a lot of data to be able to tell us how AI is influencing labor markets. But in the last couple of weeks, two studies have come out that are indicative of directionally of, I think, where things seem to be shaking out, at least in these early days. And I'm going to ask my colleague Freddie to put links to these studies in our chat. The first comes from Stanford University and the other comes from Harvard, and both of them really have two key takeaways. The first is that both these studies with very different methodologies are showing that there's slower hiring for entry-level jobs, particularly in occupations that are impacted by AI. And each of the authors has sort of different perspectives on sort of how to get at that group. But that is suggesting that there is something going on in labor markets around apprenticeship. Incidentally, we've been seeing this change in entry-level jobs for many years now. So, but what we seem to be seeing is an acceleration of that impact for entry-level jobs. And I think that raises the question, which is, how can apprenticeship be part of a reimagining of the entry-level job pathway? And we see lots of opportunity for apprenticeship in that. Although, just to be clear, this is something I think that's a hypothesis we're still developing. Next slide, please. So let me just turn to the policy context. At AFA, we're all about how does public policy advance apprenticeship and what can we do to be part of that. So we spend a lot of time tracking the public policy implications of the president and Congress and legislators in the states and governors in the states. So, and I want to call out sort of three different things that are indicative of this administration's commitment to apprenticeship and the way that they are looking at apprenticeship and AI. The first is, and we discussed this in a webinar a few months back, there is an executive order advancing artificial intelligence education for American youth that speaks broadly to the question of how we prepare people for a world of AI. And within that executive order is a call for increased participation in apprenticeship in AI-related occupations. So even several months ago, this administration was really looking at how to use apprenticeship to advance AI literacy and capacity in the American workforce. And then I also want to just call out that as a follow-on to that executive order, a report was issued in the last month or so, maybe 6 weeks, called Winning the Race, America's AI Action Plan. And this report spoke to, in a little bit more detail, to the possibilities of apprenticeship and AI, and in particular called out the capacity to leverage apprenticeship as part of what they call the AI infrastructure. So think of this as building out the data centers and running those data centers and building the software to be able to make best use of AI. And then finally, just headlines from, I believe, last week. There was a summit on AI and education at the White House. The First Lady spoke at it. And a number of companies made commitments around education and skilling around AI issues. Two that we want to highlight is that Accenture and Booz Allen each made commitments to put up tech apprenticeships in the AI space. There's one last piece of the policy context that I want to speak to, and that's a report that was issued now almost a month ago called America's Talent Strategy, Building the Workforce for the Golden Age. And this is really the administration's blueprint, if you will, for their workforce talent strategies. Within that, there were a number of points that really spoke to this connection between AI and apprenticeship. Number one, the opportunities to use apprenticeships to integrate AI literacy and skill development. Number two, looking at AI as a tool for educators and workforce development professionals, including apprenticeship programs, to be able to use that to streamline, make more efficient and more effective the work that we do. Three, looking at apprenticeship degrees in AI as a really important tool for building out people who work on AI products, services, and developing AI capacities. The need for the entire education and workforce development ecosystem to get smart about apprenticeship was also called out. And this opportunity, this idea of building learning networks at the regional level to bring together different players to be part of that learning network. And then finally, an acknowledgement that it's likely that there's going to be some level of displacement in labor markets as a result of AI, and we need to have rapid retraining, including apprenticeship, to be able to address that. My last couple of comments just sort of speak to AFA's take on all of this. So if you can just advance the slide, Harry, thank you. So the first thing that I would suggest for everyone on this call who's working on an apprenticeship program is that if you haven't already, and you probably are at least thinking about it, you should be looking at the standards and the curriculum you're using for your related instruction and for your on-the-job instruction, and ask yourself, how is AI changing the way we are changing the content of that instruction, and then the way that we are delivering that instruction. Every apprenticeship program in this country, I will argue, should be going through that exercise, even if you're not in an AI occupation or industry. And then I think for those of us who are working on IT-focused apprenticeships, here's an opportunity to think in a deeper level about how AI is changing the apprenticeship standards that you're working with. And I don't know if we have Apprenti on the call, but I know just yesterday Apprenti announced an AI apprenticeship. We should be, those of us who are working on tech-related and IT industry-related apprenticeships should be thinking about how AI is shifting the focus and the standards that we're using. And then finally, we really do look to apprenticeship degrees as an important tool to prepare workers who are going to be working on those AI tools of the future. And we think, you know, IT has shown over and over again a preference for using real world learning rather than just classroom learning. We think apprenticeships are really well suited for that. And then finally, again, back to the recommendations of the Talent Blueprint and in other places, we should be all thinking about how we're using AI in our daily work to improve the way that we are managing apprenticeship, to improve the kinds of outcomes we're getting from our apprenticeship work, and so on. And so I think with that, I'm flipping this back to Holly briefly, and then we're going to hear from Emily.
Thank you, John. When we talk about the state level a bit, when ChatGPT debuted in 2022, there were no states, obviously, that had policies related to generative artificial intelligence. So yesterday, Education Week reported that artificial intelligence topped the list of state technology officials' priorities for the first time ever. And we know that at least 28 states, including DC, have issued formal guidance on AI in K-12 schools, ranging from voluntary policies to legislative bills. And that's such rapid progress that we know we're witnessing this really fast shift from early experimentation to exploratory research to these structured conversations around what's the guidance, what's the oversight, what are the use cases in schools. And we know that we need to balance those guardrails with the ability to be innovative. So today, we're seeing those oversight boards and regulatory sandboxes in states like California, Connecticut, and Texas. There are state level task forces and guidelines in Arkansas and Georgia. There are first steps on AI related education bills with the passage of Mississippi's Senate Bill 2426. And there are no less than 20 additional states that have already introduced AI-related education bills. So as we're looking across the spectrum, these approaches differ vastly. There are common themes, though, that are emerging across these states. Most of them are focused on defining AI and generative AI for education, protecting student data, embedding ethical use, and building AI literacy among both students and educators. So what makes this challenging is that much of the AI conversation still lives at the K-12 level, but we are starting to see that strong alignment with higher ed and workforce priorities. So that is where REACH, NCAD, and our peer institutions are really stepping in to help bridge the gap. From NCAD's conversations with partners, we know the demand is there. It is real. Faculty want to know how AI will impact their teaching and research. Boards want to know there's evidence that institutions are preparing for this. And employers want graduates who can confidently use AI in their fields. So by requiring AI literacy at REACH and sharing our faculty training model through NCAD, we're helping to ensure both learners and educators are ready for that AI-driven workforce. And this represents that really rapid shift from early experimentation to structured conversations about oversight, guidance, and classroom use. AI literacy is no longer a nice to have. It is a state level mandate shaping education policy and workforce readiness. So as I mentioned earlier, at REACH, we launched a compulsory 3-credit hour computer science and AI literacy course for all of our undergraduates. This started in summer 2023. And Dr. M is going to speak with you all about that momentarily. But more broadly, we are seeing that growing number of institutions that are actively responding to the AI literacy call. We hear those common themes from our NCAD universities and community college partners. Here is the takeaway. AI literacy is now, both at a state mandate and as a workforce mandate. At REACH and NCAD, we believe that every learner needs this foundation and that every faculty member needs the tools to teach it. So that's why we've built this AI literacy into our undergraduate degrees. It is why this fall we're offering Dr. M's graduate level CS and AI literacy course for free to faculty and workforce leaders. And with that, I am so thrilled to turn it over to Dr. M. so that she can show you what this looks like in practice. Dr. M, take it away.
Thanks so much, Holly. Hello, everyone. I'm delighted that you're all here. I suppose I'm the practice part of the Policy to Practice webinar. My name is Emily Tomford. I am the chair of the Department of Computer Sciences here at Reach University, and my PhD is in artificial intelligence. So I would love to share with you some of the work we're doing at Reach. I'm going to share with you some AI fluency work we're doing, and then we're actually going to do a live demo. So I want to prime you ahead of time. I've got a few volunteers who have already said they will come up on the stage with me and do this demo. But if you are feeling comfortable enough to be someone who engages in the dialogue and experiences the Reach tutorial method firsthand, think about that, and I would love to invite you up on stage when we're ready for that. I have some slides here. I'm not going to share the link just yet because following in with the tutorial method, I've got some questions and answers in there and I don't want to steal anyone's aha moments. So I will share it in a few minutes after I've got past those ahas. So first thing I'd like to talk to you about is AI fluency. We have chosen to define an AI fluency framework here at Reach, which is constantly under development. We have specified it as the ability to complete tasks with and without AI. And this is very much coming from the push and pull of the workforce, right? Workforce is expecting everyone to already be able to be well-versed with using AI tools to accomplish their tasks. But at the same time, we're seeing interviews and hiring processes are not allowing AI at the same time. So you have to be well-versed in your profession with and without the AI tools. So we've broken that down into 5 discrete steps that we can practice, train on, and evaluate. The first one is to identify whether or what part of a task it is appropriate to solve with AI. A lot of ethics goes into that, a lot of knowledge of AI and how it works. Second is to select an appropriate AI tool for the task. There are many out there, and learning more about what's available and what's appropriate will help you with number 2. Once you've chosen your tool, step 3 is to formulate, meaning to prompt or to input the problem into this AI system such that your selected tool is able to solve it. And then number 4, very important, is to evaluate the output of that AI system for its validity and determine how is it appropriate to act upon it. This is very humans in the loop. We're not just automating stuff and sending it straight out in the world. And then step 5 is to acknowledge and reflect upon the role that AI played in the task, including being able to attribute your AI sources. And this is the big part where the plagiarism comes into effect. So when we're afraid that people are going to pass off the work of AI as their own, we're really looking at 4, their evaluation, and 5, their acknowledgement. So I thank everyone. There's loads of people in this room who've been helpful in putting together this framework. It is an ever-evolving thing because we know that AI never stays still. But I think the most important part of it to me is that we've defined AI fluency as a subfield of digital literacy. So it's about consuming AI tools that other people have made, which is great and everything, but that limits. If we're only allowing people to look at AI as a black box, just as something you can use, not as something you can understand or affect, then we're creating this artificial class divide in our society, in our workforce, between those who can only consume and those who can understand and create. So what we're really pushing for, especially at Reach University, is that we need to be able to open the box of AI, to look inside it, to understand it, to see the theory and the math and the joy and the bias and the concerns. And when we do that, we're no longer studying AI fluency. We're studying artificial intelligence itself, which is a subfield of computer science that deals with the types of problems that are easier for humans to solve than for computers. And that is where I come in. This is my discipline, and I'm super happy to share it with everyone. What we've done is we've put all of our AI lessons and resources and investigations into CS300. So this is the course that Holly talked about. We require computer science, a full semester of computer science for every single one of our candidates, no matter what their degree program is, no matter what they're going to end up teaching, right? No matter where they're going to end up, it's important that everyone needs to understand computing systems and AI. And we have grown this since 2023 from 199 candidates all the way up to 650 this summer, which means we've had to grow the number of instructors and grow the supports for it. And so by doing all of that, we are making that work available to you. In the form of at least Computer Science 300, which is a public course. Anyone can make a copy of it on Canvas and have their own. And I'm going to give you a demo now of one of our lessons from Module 1, which is called Computing Systems, Past, Present, and Future. So at this point is when I'm going to ask some people to come up and share the stage with me. I know we have some people who agreed to participate ahead of time. What do we have? Vita? Vita, are you in?
Hi, Dr. M. Yes, I'm here.
Excellent. I'm gonna spotlight you or pin you. Pin. Let's pin Vita. Okay, and I have Benjamin. Excellent.
Hello.
Hello. Welcome. Thank you for being willing to be one of my guinea pigs. I'm gonna pin you. Oh, add spotlight. Ooh, does that work? Okay, Harry's got it. Harry's on top of it. Is there anyone else who would like to come up onto the stage with me and participate in this demo? If you want to put up your little Zoom hand, I am happy to include you. I see a lot of people here. Ngozie's here. Oh, Joe's here. Anyone else who would like to come up on the stage, we will happy to pin you. All right. So I'm going to start sharing my screen again now that we have that. And I'm going to say welcome to the tutorial. I'm going to start you out with a stimulus. So I'm going to give you this word chatbot. A chatbot is defined as a computer program that can have a conversation with a human. Vita, Benjamin, anything? Have you ever used a chatbot before?
Sure, all the time. I
All the
go into
time.
a website and the chat bot pops up.
Oh, okay. So what kind of websites?
For example, let's see. I was looking into some financial things,
Uh-huh.
popped up.
Mhm.
My medical portal, it pops up. And
Right.
I
So things like
conversation.
customer service, right? Being excellent. Benjamin, what about you? Have you used chatbots?
Definitely. Definitely have run into the customer service chatbots a lot recently. But I also think back to like AOL Instant Messenger and the early versions of chatbots that they had.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
So so there was a version of that where you could talk to like a computer program instead of to another person?
Mm-hmm.
Excellent. So you could hold on a conversation. Excellent. Okay, I'm going to put it out there in the chat. Here's a general question for everyone. Give me a year for when the first chatbot appeared. How old are chatbots? I'm looking in the chat. Who's got them? 1996, 95, 1966, 1993. Excellent. I had a load of people saying 2022 because the first chatbot they'd ever heard of was ChatGPT, right? I'm getting earlier ones. Excellent. So I'm going to put the link in the chat here because that's where I'm going to tell you the answer. Eliza was one of the first publicly available chatbots, and that was from 1966. Who's surprised? Anyone surprised? How you feel about that, Vita? Surprised? Oh, Jamie surprised. Yeah. So we're going to look a little bit at Eliza from 1966, and we're going to compare it to ChatGPT 4.0 from 2025. And we're going to look at what's the same and different. So everyone has a link to the slides now. You can go ahead and click through. So if you click on the Eliza link, you can open up the Eliza Archaeology Project, and you can actually chat with the first chatbot that was available to public in 1966. So let's see. Benjamin, you want to start us out? What is the first line that Eliza presents to us, inviting us to add input to the system? What does she say first?
Says, how do you do? Please tell me your problem.
Excellent. Okay, here's my problem. I have a headache. She says back, you say you have a headache. Okay. Eliza was programmed to be like a therapist bot. Okay. Benjamin, what would you say back to Eliza at this point?
I would say, yes, that's what I said.
That's what I said. Oh, why do you ask? I thought you might be able to help me. Ooh, we're getting interesting now. So Eliza is programmed to respond, respond and respond and respond, right? Anything we type, it gives us a response. What about ChatGPT? I have a link in here for duck.ai, which is DuckDuckGo's data secure version of ChatGPT, where you can use the whole chatbot without having your data saved or used for training. So we're gonna try that on ChatGPT. I have a headache. Same input. Are we seeing the same kind of output? No, Jamie, tell me about how this is different.
This one provides tips and tricks to help with the headache.
Excellent. Excellent. And then it gives me a follow-up question. How long have you been experiencing this headache? Right? So we can keep going on the conversation with ChatGPT. Excellent. All right, we're going to analyze these two things through one of my favorite frameworks, which we can use to understand any system, and that is input, process, output. All right, cool. So the input is whatever the user puts into the system. Vidya, do you remember what input I put into Eliza to start out with?
You had a headache?
Yeah, a headache. Excellent. And for ChatGPT, was that the same input or different? Oops.
It was the same.
The same. Okay, we're gonna write that the same. Okay, so the same inputs. And now let's think about the output. What output did Eliza give us? Oh, Taylor, you've joined. Taylor, do you want to tell us about the output that Eliza has given us to based on I have a headache? Okay, we're not getting Taylor. Coming back to Jamie. Tell me about the outputs, Jamie.
The output for Eliza just said, I'm sorry to hear you have a headache.
Right, so
It was
that's
very basic.
here. Okay, so it was just a basic output. Great. And what about ChatGPT? Can you characterize that?
That provided tips and tricks to help.
Tips and tricks. Wonderful. Now, the next thing we're going to look at is the process. The process of any system is how the input is transformed into output. Do we know anything about the process? I'm seeing in the chat here, Eliza is linear. ChatGPT is multi-layered. Okay, so that's one difference we could have in the output. What if I showed you these two vocabulary items, two of my favorite words, deterministic and stochastic? So deterministic is when a process is predetermined. So the same input always produces the same output, right? Linear. Stochastic describes a system where the process includes an element of randomness, which is based on probability. And then therefore the same input might produce different outputs every time. What do we think? What are we going to use with Elijah and ChatGPT? Which one of those is deterministic?
Eliza.
Eliza, there you go. Eliza is deterministic. And we can test this by clicking through and testing what happens if you restart it and put in the same input and restart it and put it in the same input, right? Are you still going to get her to say exactly the same thing? Yeah. If you say it over and over and over again, that's different because then the input is I have a headache, I have a headache, I have a headache. So to explore that, explore how you might be able to get her to say different things. ChatGPT. Contrastively, it is not deterministic. It is, someone give me the other word I showed you, Jamie.
Stochastic.
Stochastic, very well pronounced. That is a hard one. So ChatGPT, every time you put in, I have a headache, say we delete these, and we put in another one, the output is going to be slightly different. The tips and tricks it gives us is going to be slightly different. The text is slightly different. And that is because it is trying to put together these sentences based on the probability in there. So we're going to come up with a stochastic response. Excellent. All right. What do you think about maybe taking some time to build our own deterministic chatbot? I'm excited about this one. So we're gonna code with Scratch, which is a block-based program that anyone who can read, so starting in maybe second grade, can use to program computers. And I know we've seen this a bit before. Vita, would you be comfortable sharing your screen and being our first coder for us? She's getting it ready.
Sure.
Excellent. So you can go ahead and click on Code with Scratch from the slides. And everyone can click on Code with Scratch as well. I'm going to put the link in the chat here. Anyone can open this up and follow along. And I'm going to stop sharing my screen. And I'm going to ask Ms. Vita to share her screen. All right. So welcome to Scratch. Do you see, Vita, on the left where there's a bunch of blue blocks, little like Lego?
I do.
There you go. Those are all our instructions that we can give to the computer. And you see, even to the left of that, there's some colorful bubbles. So you can click on links and events and sounds. So there's lots of categories of those instructions that we can go to. I would love it if you would open up the blue sensing category. So light blue sensing in the bubbles. There we go. And can you pull out an ask? It looks like ask what's your name and weight. Yep, just pull it into the middle, into your coding area there. Excellent. And while you're there, can you pull out an answer as well? Answer is right below it. Right below ask, there's answer, and you can pull that out into the screen as well. And just as a favor, for our old people eyes, can you zoom in on these blocks a little bit? There's a, there you go, there's a magnifying glass there. Wonderful. Excellent. Now I'm going to have you click on ask what's your name and weight. Can you just click the blue part of that? Click on ask. What happened? There you go. Tell me what you see.
It lit up.
Yes, I see a block for me to go ahead and put in what I'm going to ask, I think.
Excellent. So what is your name? Do you want to type in an answer for the cat there? Vita, wonderful. And you can press the check mark or you can click enter on your keyboard. Excellent. So your name just went away. It did nothing. Can you click on the answer bubble right underneath what's your name? And click on the answer bubble. What does it do when you click on that?
See, my name popped up.
There you go. It saved your name. So your name was the input. It saved it. Now we're going to process it and give it some output. So can you go get another ask what's your name and weight? One of the same? Yep. Just put it underneath the other one. Put it connected to the other one like a stack. Wonderful. And let's try putting that answer right in that second ask. Can you cover up the second what's your name with answer? Excellent. Now let's click on the top of that stack again. Click on the first ask. What's your name? Go ahead and put in your name there. There you go. Vita's name. What did the cat say to you?
It said my name.
It said your name back. That's so great. But to continue the conversation, really the cat should ask you a follow-up question using your name. It should say something like, how can I help you today, Vita? Or it's good to see you, Vita. What's up? Right? So let's do that. Let's do a little processing. Can you take answer out of that ask box? And we'll just put it in its own safe space. I would love for you to go into the green operators menu. And I'd like you to find join. Right now it looks like join apple banana and it's near the bottom. Join apple banana. Great. And you can put that, yep, cover up the second what's your name with that. Great, excellent. So what's a question we're going to ask? Oh, here's the thing. Let's put this out to the peanut gallery. What is a question that someone comes to you with all the time and you're like, I wish I had a bot to answer this? For me, it's how to take a screenshot on your computer. right? Yeah, I would like to automate this question. Who's got a question they wish they could automate? Ooh, what is an apprenticeship? Excellent. Any other problems out there? Any other
good.
industries that we're looking for things like, I don't know, like what size of battery should I choose for my solar system? Or, what PBIS supports are there for this student? Or something like that. It's got something. Ooh, what's the difference between apprenticeships and internships? What should we have for dinner? Can I get an advance on a reimbursement grant? Yes, I'm excited. You can all make the bots of yourselves. What items do I need to complete my application? Ooh, I love that, Benjamin. Let's look on that. So let's do a follow-up question for this. Let's imagine this cat is an application bot. It should ask next something like, have you finished your application yet, Vita? Right? So we can type instead of Apple, on join Apple Banana, you can type in there, have you finished your application? Or similar. Ooh, how do I obtain a copy of my transcript? That's great. That sounds like it's got lots of ifs and thens in it. There we go. And instead of banana, can you put answer on top of banana? Because then it'll use your name in that. Have you finished your application, Vita? Should we try that? Excellent. So you can go ahead and press stop above the cat to cancel everything. Excellent. And then to make this easier, let's just put an event on the top of this stack. Can you go into the yellow events menu, get events? Lovely. Choose the first one of those when green flag is clicked. You can put it on top of there. Beautiful. And now you can just click the green flag above the cat and the whole thing will start. What's your name? Vita. Excellent. Have you finished your application, Vita? Ooh, what do you think about that? What does it say on the screen? Do you like it?
No.
No, what are you going to do? Oh, look at that. So you're changing it to a different processing. So you're going to say, have you finished your application, comma, Vita, and then do you want a question mark at the end?
Yes.
Yeah. So take out answer, so it's all alone. Yeah, and we're going to go into green operators and get another join. There you go, join Apple Banana. Excellent. And you can cover up banana with that. And now you have 3 blanks, right? So you can say, have you finished your application? And then answer. Yep, answer instead of apple. Beautiful. And then instead of banana, that's where you can put your question mark. Okay, let's try it. Let's press your question mark, your green flag. Let's try it with Benjamin this time. Can you put in Benjamin's name instead? There you go. So you can show it works with multiple different inputs.
It's so tiny.
There we go. What's your name? Benjamin. Have you finished your application, Benjamin? Look at that. So we can continue improving this processing. We can continue asking more questions by joining things together. And if you want to continue looking at how to do different things depending on different inputs, we have the rest of the slides support you using if-then conditions. So I want a big round of applause for Vita for sharing your screen. Thank you so much. That was amazing. And thank you everyone else for participating in this tutorial. I'm going to close us out here with the end of the slides, which is what next? So if you enjoyed any of this, if you want to learn about stochastic processes, which is the next thing after learning about the deterministic ones, I have a tiny video for you here, 5 minutes to learn about small language models. And this is one that's really tuned to Reach's Teachers College because it teaches you about language models using green eggs and ham. You're also welcome to sit in on CS 404 Inside AI, which is our pilot course. It actually starts tomorrow. Everyone is welcome to join that. It's a 4-module course with hands-on activities, just like we did with Scratch here. You're also welcome to register for CS 333, which is our Train the Trainer 8-week course that will take any educator who's already an expert in education transfer them over to be able to do computer science education and to teach CS 300. And you are always welcome to come ask me any individual questions. I'm happy to help. My Calendly is Dr. M. Thanks, everybody.
Brilliant. Thank you, Emily. I think that's creating a live chatbot is a first for AFA webinars. We're gonna open up now to any questions from the audience. So I'm gonna bring Holly and John back in to the conversation. And anyone has any questions on either on the course and what Emily was talking about, or on the kind of broader context that Holly and John shared at the beginning, please put your hands up or put your questions in the sidebar. I was actually going to kick off. I've got a question for you, Emily, while people were thinking, which is just thinking about CS333. What's the one bit of advice that you give to educators who are new to this, who are new to AI and computer science?
Yeah, so much of it is about admitting what you don't know and collectively gaining that knowledge together. There's too much of computer science, there's too much of AI out there that to memorize everything. Like even the people with the PhD in it, we don't keep it memorized. We know the terms and we look them up, and we have enough expertise to discern whether that answer applies to us. So that's really what you want to start building, is that knowing the theory, knowing the landscape, and you don't have to be a master of any individual little technical skill.
Great, very interesting. And I'm assuming that's what the course covers. We've got a question from Karen, which I'm going to direct at you, John, which is, how do we embed AI in apprenticeship? Which pathway?
Yeah, I think there's first off, one thing that's going on out there is there's a number of organizations that are starting to come up with basic frameworks for AI literacy. So number one, don't feel like you have to invent this yourself. Find somebody else who's already, blazed that trail for you. And look at how those tools and capabilities match to the occupation that you're training people for. And whether that is carpentry or vet tech or what have you, there's probably applications of AI that will be relevant to those occupations, and that will you can then use as a proof point for how you are building out your AI literacy instruction. And I think at this stage, even having something, even if it's not 100% right, even getting started with it will be an opportunity for you to learn yourself, and also to judge from the apprentices in your program and the employers you're working with how relevant these particular items are, and you can calibrate from there. But I'd actually, Holly, Emily, how would you add to that?
John, I think you answered that perfectly. I don't think there's a vertical that you could not embed AI into. I think at this point in time, if we really are preparing our workers, we are going to need to embed it in every pathway and every vertical. And I think the question at this point is where the application is. And so I do think that's a question that we all should be asking, exploring, as we move forward, because I do think there are tenets that we're seeing in these frameworks, but I also think that there are several emerging learnings that we're going to be seeing in the next several months and years. So
yeah, and I should add one other thing, which is just be ready to iterate over and over again, because this is moving fast. We are learning more as we go. Probably the multiple AI frameworks will eventually boil down to a handful. And so just be ready to iterate on it. But certainly I can tell you one thing that AI is promoting with policymakers is that we need to give apprenticeship programs the flexibility to try the incorporation of apprenticeship in multiple ways to allow them to redesign standards quickly to be responsive to this very rapidly moving development.
I think the rapidly moving development is the most important part of it. Because AI tools are being, created and then regulated and then controversied and then recreated so quickly, that as soon as you build any one particular tool or one particular workflow into your curriculum, it's going to be immediately obsolete. So concentrating on just, here's how we do this thing as soon as your apprentice, is going on to the next part, next job, next year, it already doesn't apply. So focusing on the broader competencies of, like understanding what a workflow is, breaking it down. I saw in the chat, the critical thinking skills, right? Critical thinking in addition with at least some exposure to digital literacy so that that can become a core competency rather than just a list of discrete skills.
And John, I just wanted to follow up on that. Which occupations need to care about this? Do I only need to know about this if I'm running a tech apprenticeship program?
No, I think every single occupation that is apprenticeable, and most that aren't, needs to have some capacity to be able to know when to use AI and how to use AI in that occupational context. So every single apprenticeship standard needs to be revisited in the next not too long, for us to be able to be relevant to the very rapid changes that are going on in the workplace right now.
Great. So relevant to everyone. Emily, back to you and the course. I've got a question from Corey, which is, are you focusing only on generative AI, or do you also teach task automation or automation work?
Yeah, we cover all of the discipline of artificial intelligence, light touch, because we don't have a lot of time. But you just saw the bit where we were writing little, our first little chat bot. That's from a very early part of the course. We get into building all sorts of, data analysis and automation things. But really the core is the building the tool yourself, not using a tool someone else wrote. So that kind of workflow, automation, like how to automate my tasks for work, that would fall under a digital literacy umbrella, and not in the computer science course, although it is a very important skill to have. That is going to be covered in another experience.
Great. And I think we've got time for a couple more questions from the audience if anyone wants to come in. In the meantime, Holly, I wanted to come back to what we were talking about right at the start on the labor market disruption, reduction in entry-level jobs, changes to entry-level pathways that we're seeing. What do you see as the role of NCAD in that labor market transition there? How can NCAD help?
I think we can help in multiple ways, right? Our goal is really to walk alongside our partners, to help them as a connector, also to really support them in building partnerships between the higher ed institutions and their workforce partners, to sort through these things, right? There are so many questions. Someone wrote in the chat, what is an apprenticeship? That is a question that we get every day. So when we start to think in the context of what is an apprenticeship degree, people's minds are really blown. So as we're thinking about, where do people start? Then we also speed through to how do we start in a new vertical? Even if we know what an apprenticeship degree is and we have quality standards and we've written all of these standards and we've assessed them and we know how the apprenticeship degree works, now we want to work with a new employer. Now we want to work in a new vertical, and everything changes. The tenants stay the same, but everything changes. And I think that our goal is, number one, to connect higher ed institutions and employers to help them build capacity, right? We don't want to have them build dependency on us. We're building capacity. So I like to not say technical assistance and really focus on building capacity to do that work, and also to share that work and those learnings with other institutions and employers. And then through our partnership network, I think that's going to be a huge game changer as we're building the knowledge base and the data around this work out, sharing those learnings publicly in publication, but also verbally in these networks that we are building that are face-to-face. One of the things that we hear is most valuable is you put us face-to-face with someone and let us just ask questions. And so I think those are really the roles that we're going to fill, but we are so excited about building out some of the data work and the outcomes-based work, and also about, I see Anastasia is on here, about launching our new journal. So, so much to come in the near future, but there's so much work to be done. And I think it's just a matter of where can we fit? Where can we help? That is what NCAD does.
Brilliant. Thanks, Holly. That's very exciting. So building capacity, sharing, partnership. Um, I think we've picked up all our questions. Before I pass back to John to close out, Emily, do you just want to say a quick word about how people can sign up for the course?
Yes, in the slides that I shared with you, there are registration links and extra information. Anyone who wants to is welcome to sit on Inside AI, but it's in progress and we might not be able to get you full access through the Canvas and everything because it's a pilot course. But CS333, if you follow those links and register, we will get you all signed up and we will have you for 8 weeks, a full 2-credit graduate course that is loads of people in this room have taken it. Vita's passed it. Yes. Thank you, Vita. And Joe and Anastasia. It's really about critically examining teaching practices through the lens of computer science, around both the pedagogy, how we teach children, and the andragogy, how we teach adults.
Thank you, Harry. Thank you, Emily and Holly. It's just been great to have this session with you. Let me just say, as we are all learning very quickly how to adapt to some of these new developments, this is a great opportunity where to look at how another organization is approaching this question, to identify pedagogies and approaches that you think would be appropriate for your own related instruction, for your apprenticeship program, as well as, frankly, just to learn, right? So really take advantage of this opportunity if you're at all able. And this is certainly a topic we're going to be returning to frequently over the next little bit here. Very interested in sharing out what other AFA members are finding as they are exploring this work. I'm just seeing Mike Roberts at the top of my screen here. Hey, Mike, great to see you. I know Creating Coding Careers is doing some work in this space, and as are a number of our other members. And so would love to be able to profile and share some of that as we are all learning how to respond to these changes and developments. I want to thank everyone for participating in today's webinar. We have a whole series of other webinars on deck. Go to the apprenticeshipsforamerica.org website and click on events. And for those of you who are missing your e-digest this week, we're a little bit behind, so it should be coming out tomorrow. And we've got an exciting bit of news and events to share in that document as well. Thanks, everyone, and have a great rest of your afternoon. Anyone who wants to hang out for the after can just stay on the Zoom. Thanks again.